Hello Bookish friends, welcome to another Try a Chapter video. In today's Try a Chapter video, I'm going to choose 5 books from my Goodreads TBR and decide if I still want to read those books and keep them on my Goodreads TBR. I've been doing this video series since I started my Goodreads TBR challenge, which is aimed at reducing the number of books on my Goodreads TBR. And the 5 books that I've chosen for this video are the first book in series, and I've added majority of these books to my TBR more than 3 years ago. So it is time for me to decide about their fate. The books that I will try a chapter of are The Drive by Jane Harper, the first book in Aaron Folk series, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom, the first book in Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children series, Girl Waits with a Gun by Amy Stewart, the first book in Cup Sisters series, Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, the first book in Daughter of Smoke and Bone series, and last but not least, Jade City by Fonda, the first book in Greenbone Saga series. The first book that I will try a chapter of is The Drive by Jane Harper. This book and Aaron Folk series has been the favorite of many of my friends, and although I put it on my TBR a very long time ago, I somehow never thought of reading it. So I guess it's time to try this mystery series taking place in an Australian small town. I read the prologue and a section of the first chapter of The Dry by Jane Harper, and the prologue scene opens on a very hot summer day in Australia. The flies try to feed on 3 corpses, a man in the garden, a woman and a small child in the house, and there is also a baby who's crying in the bed. First chapter begins with the funeral of these 3 people. Aaron comes to his hometown for the funeral. The dead man, the father of the family, was an old friend of his. His friend Luke's father note says, "Luke lied, you lied, come to the funeral." The second book that I will try a chapter of is a middle grade fantasy book, which is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. I've heard mixed things about this book. Some booktubers really enjoy this series, whereas the others found it a bit weird. Actually, I'm not a big fan of weird books, but I wanted to give this book a chance before deciding if I want to read it or not. I read a section of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. In this first chapter, Jacob is very interested in his grandfather's childhood, which he spent in an orphanage in Wales. Children in this orphanage were quite extraordinary. He shows pictures of weird children, a one without a head, a girl who's levitating, a young man who can lift very big rocks with just one hand, and the weirdest one was a photo of a bald head with a face painted on the back of it. Next, I will read a chapter from Girl Waits with Gun by Amy Stewart. This book is the first book in Nub Sister series. I read in the synopsis that this series was based on a real person who became a cop in times which it was not easy. So I read a section of Girl Waits with Gun by Amy Stewart. In the section that I've read, 3 Nub sisters are riding in a horse wagon, and they get involved in an accident regarding an automobile. Since it is 1914, the automobiles are just being emerged. The 3 sisters are helped by the shop owners and the people who are walking around. In this accident, we see that one girl is very pretty, the other one is quite gross, and Constance seems to be the sensible one. The second book that I will try a chapter of was quite popular when I first started BookTube in 2019. The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. This book is the first book in the Daughter and Smoke series, and I've heard that the writing style is quite flowery, and that's probably why I didn't pick it up sooner. But in the spirit of the video, I needed to see for myself if I like the writing style or not. I read the section from the first chapter of Daughter and Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. In this section, we meet Kaozu, who lives in Prague and goes to an art school. And she's also doing some touristic work, conducting ghost tours. In the beginning of this book, she and her ex-boyfriend do talk. She learns that he is also doing some touristic work. He's impersonating vampires. And lastly, I will read a section from Jade City by Fonda, the first book in Greenbone Saga, a fantasy book consisting of 3 primary works. I read a section of the first chapter of this book as well. And in the beginning of the book, we meet 2 young men, Barrow and Sampa, who decide to be jewel thieves, especially the Jade Stone. In this world, Jade Stone affects some people health quite badly. Barrow is affected by Jade, while Sampa belongs to a tribe who can handle the Jade Stone. After reading a section from 5 of these books, I certainly decided to unhaul Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Like I said before, I really do not like weird books. This book felt too weird for my taste, and especially after I saw the picture of the bald man with a face painted on the back of his head, I've certainly decided not to read that book, though I didn't dislike it as much. I've also decided to take out Girl Waits with Gun from my Goodreads TBR. There was something about the writing style which annoyed me. I really did not like the first-person narration of the protagonist of the story. I was a bit undecided about Jade City by Fonda. Although I was a bit confused at being thrown in a very established world, I quite liked the beginning plot, in which we are following a jewel heist, which is a theme that always interests me. So I decided to keep Jade City by Fonda on my Goodreads TBR. And surprisingly, I really did like the writing style of Laini Taylor when I read the first chapter of Daughter and Smoke and Bone. And it looks like it will be a book that I can read when I feel like reading a good young adult fantasy book. So that one is a keep as well. And the one that I liked the most was the first one that I've tried, The Dry by Jane Harper. I was immediately drawn into the mystery, and it is very, very possible that I will put this series in my TBR quite soon. So those were my thoughts on 5 books that have been sitting on my Goodreads TBR for a very, very long time. I'm really enjoying making this video series as well as evaluating the books. This series also helps me to achieve my goal of decreasing the number of books on my Goodreads TBR. Please comment down below. Have you read any of the books that I've tried a chapter of, and what did you think of them? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose gun. Gun means tabanca in Turkish, and tabanca is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.